My manipulative ex sent me a box full of apologies 5 years after we broke up. The problem is, she died a year ago. It's been 5 years, 5 years since I finally, painfully, and messily extracted myself from that relationship. It was one of those relationships that doesn't just end, it leaves a crater. She was my first real love, and she was a master of quiet, insidious kind of cruelty, a manipulator of the highest order. Every argument was my fault. Every insecurity I had was a weapon she would sharpen and use against me. By the end, I was hollowed out, anxious wreck of a person. It took me years of therapy, of rebuilding my own self-worth from the ground up to feel even remotely normal again. I hadn't seen or spoken to her in half a decade. I thought I was free. Then last month the box arrived. It was a small, unassuming package in my mailbox. No return address, just my name and address written in a familiar, elegant, sharp cursive that I recognized instantly. A cold, heavy feeling, a ghost of an old anxiety settled in my stomach. Her handwriting on a small cardboard tag tied to the box with a black ribbon. Were 7 words also in her hand. For all the things I should have said, my first instinct was to throw it away, unopen it, to just toss it in the dumpster and pretend it never came. But I couldn't. The curiosity, the morbid need for a final, long overdue sense of closure was too strong. I took it inside. The box itself was beautiful, with a small ornating carved from a dark, heavy wood with intricate patterns of vines and leaves winding around its sides. It felt old, ancient even. I sat at my kitchen table, my heart a frantic drum against my ribs, and I lifted the lid. Inside the box was empty. It was lined with a deep dark light absorbing velvet. There was no letter, no trinket, no explanation, just an empty velvet lined box. I felt a surge of frustrated, familiar anger. Of course, even now, 5 years later, she was still playing games, sending a cryptic, beautiful, and ultimately empty gesture. It was so perfectly her. I put the box on a bookshelf in my living room, a strange, dark little monument to a past I was trying to forget, and I did my best to put it out of my mind. The next morning, I was getting ready for work. I walked past the bookshelf and something caught my eye. There was a small folded piece of white paper sitting in the center of the box's dark velvet lining. I froze. I knew with an absolutely certainty that the box had been empty. When I went to bed, my apartment door was locked. No one had been in. My hands were trembling as I reached for it. I unfolded the paper. On it, in the same sharp, elegant cursive, was a single sentence. I am sorry for making you feel small at the dinner party with your friends. I stared at the note, my mind reeling. The dinner party. It had been 7 years ago, a small gathering at a friend's apartment. She had spent the entire nightly subtly, skillfully undermined me in front of my oldest friends. So she knew what she was doing, making me to butt off a dozen gentle jokes that left me feeling like an idiot. I had almost forgotten about it, but the apology, it was so specific, so verbatim to the conversation we'd had in the car the way home, where I had used those exact words. You made me feel small. I spent the rest of the day in a daze. The note folded in my pocket, a strange hot coal against my leg. When I got home from work, I went straight to the bookshelf. There was another note. I'm sorry for reading your journal. Bitch, what? My blood ran cold. She had always sworn she hadn't. It had been a huge fight, a suspicion I could never prove. But here it was, a confession, a posthumous admission of guilt. I checked again an hour later, another note. I'm sorry for lying about where I was last night. Girl, where you were? This was the rhythm of my life for the next week. The box became an endless automated apology machine. Every time I looked a note, a new folded piece of paper, a new shard of our toxic past will be waiting for me. At first, it was cathartic, validating. Every note was a confirmation that I hadn't been crazy. The gaslighting, the manipulation, it had all been real. It was like all the old wounds I had were finally being lanced, the poison drained away. I'm sorry I told your mother you were the one who broke the antique vase. I'm sorry I flirted with your best friend at your birthday party. I'm sorry I made you quit your painting class. But then the apologies started to get darker, more intrusive. I'm sorry for watching you while you slept. I found that one on a Saturday morning. I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature of the room. I remember waking up sometimes in the dead of the night with the feeling of being watched, only to see her lying beside me, her eyes closed. I had always dismissed it was a dream. I'm sorry for putting the keylogger on your laptop. That on explained it so much. The way she always seemed to know what I was thinking, who I was talking to. The way she would bring up things from private emails, pretending it was just lucky guesses. I'm sorry I followed you to work that day and said that day you said you were sick. The box wasn't just apologizing for things I knew about. It was a revealing secret, hidden history of stalking and violation, a level of obsession and control that I had never ever suspected. The catharsis were curling into a deep, creeping mirror. It was an invasion, a reopening of the past that was far more monstrous than I have ever realized. I had to get rid of it. I took the box, my hands shaking with a mixture of fear and rage, and I threw it in the dumpster behind my apartment building. I watched it disappear under a pile of trash bags. I felt a sense of finality, of relief. The next morning, it was back on my bookshelf. It was then sitting in the next same pot, polished and pristine. And inside, a new note was waiting. I'm sorry you tried to throw me away. At this point, I don't think you're sorry. Panic and raw, frantic animal panic began to set in. I took the box out to my small concrete concrete patio and I took a hammer to it. I swung with all my might. The hammerhead connected with the dark wood with a loud crack and bounced off, leaving not so much as a scratch. The wood was impossibly unnaturally hard. Yeah, it was from the afterlife. Afterlife. What did you expect, bro? The hammer, however, had a new dent in its head. The box was a part of my life now, an unmovable, unbreakable, and undying source of my past's poison. And then the apologizes started to change. They started to become predictive. One morning, a note appeared that was different. It was about the future. I'm sorry for what that man on the bus is about to say to you. I stared at the note, a sense of profound dizzying wrongness washing over me. An hour later, on my commute to work, the bus launched and a large, angry-looking man stumbled and spilled his coffee. He turned and glared at me, and even though I was a full 3 feet away, "Watch where you're going, you idiot," he snarled, his voice full of bizarre underneath venom. The box wasn't just dredging up the past anymore, it was predicting or maybe even causing new negativity in my life and then apologize for it. The notes became a mix of past and present. "I'm sorry I dented your father's car and let you take the blame. I'm sorry for the flat tire you're going to get this afternoon. I'm sorry I told other friends your novels was just a stupid hobby. I'm sorry your boss is going to lose that important file." Bro, what? It was a constant unending stream of misery, both remembered and newly delivered. I was living in a psych minefield with the box as my own personal malevolent fortune teller. Like, think, well, if you really wanna know the future. I had to talk to her. I had to stop this. I dug through my old contacts, my fingers feeling like clumsy sausages, and I found her number. I hadn't deleted it. I just never looked at it. I called. It went straight to a disconnected tone. I tried her social media. Her profiles were all gone, deactivated. I was getting desperate. I called one of our old mutual friends, someone I hadn't spoken to in years. "Hey," I said, my voice shaking. "This is going to sound really, really weird, but I need to get in touch with her. It's an emergency. Do you have a new number for her?" There was a long, heavy silence on the other end of line. Are you okay?" my old friend finally asked, his voice full of strange, cautious concern. "Yeah, I'm fine. I really need to talk to her." Another pause. "Dude," he said, his voice soft. "She's dead. She died a year ago." The phone slipped from my hand and clattered to the floor. I just stood there, the blood roaring in my ears. Dead. She was dead. "A car accident," my friend teeny voice continued from the floor. "It was really awful. I thought you knew. Her parents sent out an announcement." I hung up. She was dead for a year, but the box arrived a month ago, and the notes, they were still coming. I stumbled to the bookshelf. The box was there, a dark, silent void, and inside a new folded note. I picked it up with the hand was so numb I could barely feel the paper. "I'm sorry I died." Ooh. My mind shattered. The last fragile barrier between the rational world and this impossible waking nightmare dissolved completely. This wasn't a sick prank. This wasn't a final manipulative game. This was something else, something from beyond the grave. I'm writing this now because I don't know what else to do. I'm trapped. The notes haven't stopped, but they're different now. They're no longer just apologies for the life we shared. They're dispatches, postcard from whatever hell she's in. What the fuck? Ooh. And they are more terrifying than any of other cruelties. This morning there were three. I'm sorry I was thinking of you when I died. I was holding this box. This one made me physically ill. I was the last thought in her head. And somehow, in her final moment, she had tethered this thing to me. I'm sorry the sky is red here. Oh my god. I'm sorry the people here don't have hearts. They just have empty spaces. The last note to the one that is sitting on my desk right now, the one that has finally pushed me to write this, to scream into the void and pray someone has an answer, arrived an hour ago. I'm sorry I have to go now. The one with the smiling face is coming for me again. I don't know what to do. I think I'm tied to a ghost, and her only connection to a living world is me. The box is on a bookshelf, and I know with a certainty that is slowly crushing the life out of me, that the note is already waiting, and I'm so afraid to read it. Wow, this was an amazing story, and I really enjoyed to read this. Why it has just only a few likes? I love it. This is from Creepypasta, and I will certainly read a book like this. It's so good. Tell me, do you have an ex that will do something like this? Tell me in the comments. What would you do if you were in this situation? See you next time.